Who fired him? The CEO demanded. No one knew the quiet single dad was worth billions. The cardboard box nearly slipped from Michael Turner's trembling hands as he walked out of the towering glass building where he had spent the last 5 years quietly working. Inside the box were a small family photograph, a tiny green plant his daughter had gifted him on Father's Day, and a worn notebook filled with sketches and ideas no one had ever cared to read. Employees stood near the windows whispering as if he had committed some terrible crime. No one noticed the tears in his eyes. No one noticed that the framed photograph showed a little girl smiling beside him. And certainly no one knew that the quiet single dad they had just fired was secretly one of the wealthiest men in the country. If you believe kindness matters more than status and that everyone deserves a second chance, please like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to USA Enlightened Stories for more emotional stories that touch the heart. Michael had never cared about titles, luxury cars, or expensive suits. Years earlier, he had built one of the world's most successful technology companies with his best friend. But after earning billions, he stepped away from public life when tragedy struck. His wife Anna passed away after a long illness, leaving him alone with their newborn daughter Grace. The loss shattered him. Money suddenly felt meaningless. The board of his company wanted him to return, but Michael disappeared from the public eye. He handed daily operations to trusted executives and chose a simple life where he could focus entirely on raising Grace. For years, newspapers tried to locate the mysterious billionaire founder who had vanished. Nobody succeeded. Michael changed his appearance, lived quietly, and accepted a normal office job simply because he wanted to feel like an ordinary person again. He wanted his daughter to grow up understanding humility. Every morning, he prepared Grace's breakfast, braided her hair despite never learning properly, and walked her to school before heading to work. His coworkers only knew him as a reserved man who always declined invitations and left precisely at 5 o'clock. Some mocked him for driving an old car. Others pitted him for being a single father. Yet Michael never complained. Unfortunately, the company's new regional manager, Richard Cole, disliked him immediately. Richard believed success belonged only to aggressive and ambitious people. Michael's quiet nature irritated him. One rainy afternoon, Grace suddenly became ill at school. Michael received a phone call and immediately rushed out to pick her up. Richard saw him leaving early. Without asking questions, he assumed Michael was lazy. The next morning, Richard publicly humiliated him during a staff meeting. He accused Michael of lacking commitment and being a burden to the company. Michael tried to explain, but Richard refused to listen. Several employees lowered their eyes in embarrassment. Others remained silent. No one defended him. A few minutes later, Richard handed him a termination letter. Just like that, Michael lost his job. He quietly packed his belongings and thanked everyone for the opportunity as he walked toward the exit carrying his cardboard box. He looked exhausted rather than angry. Outside the building, he sat on a bench and stared at the small photograph of Grace. For a moment, memories flooded his mind. His late wife smiling, Grace's first steps, the promise he had made to always stay strong. He took a deep breath and smiled sadly. At that exact moment, a black luxury car stopped nearby. A middle-aged man stepped out in panic. It was Thomas Blake, chairman of Turner Technologies, the multi-billion-dollar company Michael had founded. Thomas had been searching for him for years. After finally locating him, he had come personally to ask him to return. But when Thomas saw Michael sitting outside with a box of belongings, his face turned pale. He immediately understood what had happened. At the same time, inside the office building, the CEO of the company, Sarah Mitchell, arrived unexpectedly for an inspection. She noticed unusual tension among the employees. Someone nervously mentioned that a quiet employee had just been fired. Then another employee whispered that a luxury motorcade had arrived outside. Curious, Sarah looked through the glass doors. What she saw made her heart stop. Several powerful executives were standing respectfully around Michael. One of them appeared to be Thomas Blake himself. Impossible. Sarah rushed outside. Then she heard Thomas speaking with visible concern. He called Michael sir. The world seemed to freeze. Sarah stared in disbelief. The quiet single dad they barely noticed was being treated with extraordinary respect by one of the most influential businessmen in the country. Her voice trembled. Who fired him? The question echoed through the entrance. Employees gathered in fear. Richard's face instantly turned white. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Finally, someone pointed toward him. Richard's hands began shaking. Sarah could hardly believe it. She turned back toward Michael. At that moment, she noticed the photograph inside his box, a little girl, a family. Suddenly, she understood. This man had never been lazy. He had simply been a father trying his best. Thomas then quietly revealed the truth. Michael Turner was not merely wealthy. He was the founder of one of the largest technology empires in the world. His personal fortune exceeded $12 billion. Gasps filled the air. Some employees nearly dropped their phones. Others covered their mouths in shock. Richard looked as though he might collapse, but Michael remained calm. There was no anger in his eyes, only sadness. Sarah felt ashamed. How many times had she passed him in the hallway without greeting him? How many opportunities had the company missed because they judged him based on his old clothes and quiet personality. Michael slowly stood up. He looked at the building one final time. Then he said something that left everyone speechless. He explained that being rich had never made him happier. The happiest moments of his life were making breakfast for his daughter, reading bedtime stories, and hearing her laugh. He said that people often judge others without knowing their struggles. Some are fighting grief. Some are raising children alone. Some are carrying invisible pain. Everyone deserves kindness. Tears appeared in several employees' eyes. Even Sarah struggled to hold back emotion. Richard suddenly fell to his knees and begged for forgiveness. He admitted that he had judged Michael because he looked ordinary. He believed wealth always looked expensive. He believed powerful people always demanded attention. Michael looked at him quietly. Then he gently helped him stand. He said, "Forgiveness is easier than hatred because hatred only creates more pain." Richard broke down crying. For the first time in years, he realized how cruel he had become. A few days later, Michael made a surprising decision. Instead of seeking revenge, he purchased the struggling company. But he did not fire anyone. Instead, he created programs for single parents, offered flexible working hours, and established scholarships for employees' children. The company transformed completely. People started treating each other differently. Managers became more understanding. Employees became more compassionate. For the first time, the office felt like a family. Months later, Michael attended the company's annual celebration. Little Grace stood beside him wearing a beautiful blue dress. As she held his hand, she smiled proudly. The employees applauded. Many of them had become close friends. Richard himself now led charitable projects supporting struggling families. He often said that meeting Michael had changed his life forever. As the evening ended, Grace hugged her father tightly. She whispered that her mother would have been proud of him. Michael looked toward the night sky. Tears filled his eyes. For years, he believed losing Anna had left an emptiness that could never heal. But now he realized something important. Pain can break a person, yet kindness can slowly put the pieces back together. Before we finish this story, tell us in the comments if you were in Michael's place. Would you choose revenge or forgiveness? And if this story touched your heart, please like, comment, and share this video. Subscribe to USA Enlightened Stories so more people can discover stories that remind us never to judge others by appearances. Because sometimes the quiet man carrying a cardboard box is not a failure. Sometimes he is a loving father. Sometimes he is a broken soul trying to survive. And sometimes he is a billionaire who simply wanted to be treated like a human being.